Okay, I think I am live. Let me see. Yay. Okay. Hopefully, if anybody comes, they'll let me know. Let me get my, let's see. Cool. Oh, hey, world is mine. Can you hear me okay? Let's see. Hopefully, let me start cam. Hopefully that's working. Cool. Hello. How's it going? Yay. That's awesome. Yay. Good. Okay. This is going to be kind of a long presentation. So I hope you're ready for this. Just try to get this a little better. Okay. A little easier to read. So maybe I'll wait a couple minutes and just see if anybody else wants to show up. But yeah, so today I figured, yeah, if you know, if things get thrown out and we're not going to be able to like see the or like hear the third party information, you know, I wanted to get this out before before then. So just because then nobody will really be discussing kind of like the Odinist angle. So let me see if I can do a quick banner. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Hopefully that works. Yay. Kind of sweaty. Just came in from outside. But let me see if I can figure out how to. Oh, I see how this works. Okay, cool. Yay. So hopefully all is well. It's getting hot here, so well, what are you gonna do? So maybe this would be better. Oh, that's so bright. Okay, maybe that's still pretty bright. Okay. Okay. So we've got. I get so anxious. I just want to start, but I should probably cool it down. Yeah, I'm really nervous for tomorrow actually, but at least then we'll be getting information from places like Bob and Allie, and hopefully like criminality too. They'll be able to talk about a lot of the law stuff, which is definitely not my forte, but I'll be happy to hear from them and see how, you know, maybe come up with different ideas than how the defense will, you know, I guess counter the prosecution. Yeah, me too. I love Bob, Allie, and T. They're great. So, yeah. So basically, I'm probably just going to get started because, yeah. So I preface a lot of my presentations with why I like focus in on the pagan and spiritual aspect. And there's 4 reasons that I could find to kind of look into this. Let me move this real quick though. It's so bright. Ooh, that's better. Okay. So, like, so the original prosecutor back in 2017, Robert Ives, he in an interview said that at the crime scene there were multiple signatures, and that those signatures were there were at least 3 of them, and that they were non-secular in nature. So, to me, of course, that always points towards religion and spirituality. And then, another reason why I was like, well, I should investigate it from this angle is because the Frank's memorandum, the original one, written by Richard Allen's defense team, it talks about the investigative report done by Click, Ferenczi, and Murphy, and how that investigation had looked into people like practicing modern Asatru. And, for people who don't know, modern Asatru is a version of Norse paganism, but it's modern. And they definitely focus on the Asir and like the Norse deities. So like, like Odin, Thor, Frigg, Heimdall. There's a lot of them. And then they kind of only worship that group of gods. So, let me see. So, and then of course, the FBI's the Behavioral Analysis Unit did a report, and that report was made available, I believe, sometime shortly after the murders. We've had recent people trying to spoof that they have it, but as far as we know, the defense hasn't been given it. So, it would be interesting to see what the FBI thought about the crime scene, because at least it's alluded to in the Click, Ferenczi, and Murphy report, which then is referenced in the Franks memorandum, the original Franks. So the FBI does say that in that report that the individual or individuals responsible for the homicides had ties to or knowledge of Nordic beliefs. So I thought, that's another good reason. And then comments made by the Purdue professor of Germanic Studies. His name is Jeffrey Turco. Well, he looked at some of the crime scene photos, and then he even had a fellow colleague from Harvard University look at those crime scene photos. And he determined that he said he strongly believed that the crime scene was, without a doubt, quote, someone trying to replicate Germanic runic script. So, I mean, it's pretty devastating, especially if you studied that your whole life, so you would think that would hold some water, But I do want to present a disclaimer here, because people get accused of all sorts of things anymore, and I'm not looking to sensationalize this. I'm not looking to like stoke any irrational fears. Sorry, my cat's gonna try to get in. But basically, I want to inform people following this case that there's a very strong argument to be made that the murders were meticulously planned, and they overtly include historical pagan symbols and acts. So the theories in this video are by no means set in stone. That's another thing. I think people are too afraid to kind of put out ideas or theories because, there's a chance that it's not going to be 1,000% correct. But, nothing's ever going to be 1,000% correct unless we got the actual perpetrators, the people that we were pretty sure did this, and then we were able to extract information from them because chances are they wouldn't want to talk. It would just be really difficult. Let me see. Hi Jen, how's it going? Hello, welcome. Cute to hear me be all nervous. Sorry guys, I'm trying to be very composed. But basically, yeah, I'm not trying to this isn't meant to be entertaining or spooky. I want to take the spookiness out of this because as soon as people start realizing in general that this is just some asshole's version of his own or their own practice, it's going to take a lot of the sting out of all that stuff that goes with it, so just to reiterate, the theories in this video are by no means set in stone, so I cannot definitively prove one way or another without apprehending and then extracting information from the actual perpetrator or perpetrators. So it's really up to you guys, the people watching or listening, to develop your own opinions, because you're probably going to see stuff I don't see too. That's the beauty of this whole thing. If we are allowed to share information and we're allowed to look at this thing objectively and not be afraid of it, I think there's a better chance of more information at least getting out. I would love for everyone to solve this eventually. I just don't want it to be 40 years down the road. I would like it to be, I would like it to be within the next year, but I always ask for too much. So, but yeah, so this is by no means oh, it's this way, one way, or the highway kind of thing. And if you find this information compelling or relevant, I would like to know your questions on what you find compelling or relevant. What is probably the most important thing in you guys' minds, because that might just show where to focus in the future too, to fully explain things. So, and also just a heads up. So due to the subject matter, we're going to be discussing sad things, sad, disturbing things. There will be a rendition of the crime scene, an artistic rendition, but a rendition nonetheless. And I've tried to take a lot of the gore and, some of the more personalized elements out of them. But if we can't look at this information and we can't assess it and kind of dissect it, then we can't figure it out, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. Oh, hi Hoosier. Hi, I'm going to be talking about you in this one because you are a genius. So, and hi Elna. Hi. It was planned. Yeah, I do too. Hey Mama. How you doing? I caught your live on the replay, so Meowsy Dong, hello, hello. Hi guys, this is really cool. Okay, so now I'm more nervous. Hi Cleveland. Oh, yep, I'm getting nervous, guys. Hello. Okay, so I'm gonna turn the chat off for a second, and I'm gonna go to the next slide. So, okay, so basically, let me drink some water. Um, basically, um, I in the past series that I did a 3-part series, which was like the most boring series in like the history of the world. But um, I basically went over why I thought that the timing of these murders was connected to the Norse pagan festival of Disting. So Disting it's basically like it's Disa. Let's see. I don't know. Will you guys be able to see my mouse if I point at things? Let me see. I don't know. No. Okay. So I can't. Stop. Hey. Sorry, cat. I can't really point to things, but so Disting was an ancient Norse pagan celebration, and the word Disting itself derives from Disa thing, and the Disa, is a reference to. Excuse me, sorry, I have a cat. You gotta stop, man. You gotta like. I'm trying to be professional. Okay, so, um, basically, a thing in Norse mythology is a gathering or an assembly. So the Disa thing was a gathering of people that was meant to celebrate the Dis or the Disir. And those are basically just female ancestral spirits. And I'll go over that in another slide, but this is just the basics. So it was an ancient Norse pagan celebration. It was primarily observed in Uppsala, Sweden. Um, it's hard to know how far back it goes, but I think they were still doing stuff until at least the 1100s. So now this celebration would have been held in about mid-February. So it coincided with that midpoint between the winter solstice, the 21st of December, and the spring equinox, like the 20th or 21st of March. So in between those two solar dates. So the gathering, it lasted for about a week, and it honored the ancestral female spirits known as the Disir, which we will talk about. It was very well known for its marketplace, and it was a time to like facilitate economic exchange and social interaction among communities because all of the peoples of Sweden had to come. So Disting was a time. Okay, I already did that. So Disting involved communal feasting, and people would come together. They would share food and drink to honor the spirits and foster community bonds. And that some of the rituals could involve chanting, dancing, and sacrifice. Okay, so basically, and then like side things like fortune telling and stuff that was always done, but after Sweden was Christianized, um, the Disa thing moved from its more lunar dependent way of like determining when it will be celebrated to the 2nd of February, which got conflated with Candlemas. So Candlemas was in the Bible when the Virgin Mother goes to the temple for her purification after giving birth. It's like the presentation of Christ to the temple. Okay. But they call it, in the Catholic Church, they call it the purification of the Virgin. So interesting. Anyway, so the Disa thing. Okay, so it was also a time to like keep the peace or frith And Frith had to do with like the well-being of the overall kingdom. So it wasn't just like this idea of peace. It was this coming together of all the surrounding communities, all the different clans and groups or whatever. They would come together and they would kind of like they would do the economic exchange, and so that everything would be kind of kumbaya, for a lack of a better term. So Disting by our modern calendar can fall between the 20th of January and the 19th of February. So there was this German diplomat, like around 1590. He was living in Sweden, and he was the one that first attested to when Disting would take place. And he determined that it generally fell on the full moon, the first full moon after the first new moon, after the day of the Holy Three Kings, which is Epiphany, which is January 6th. So it's a set date. So Epiphany is January 6th. So Disting would generally take place on or about the time that coincided with the first new moon following following Epiphany, and that full moon in the second month. I'll show you. It's confusing. But anyway, so okay, let me make sure. Oh, hi Mandy. Hi Professor Pug. Hey guys. I'm gonna keep going. So let's see. So Disting gets conflated with Decibloat. A lot of modern pagans confuse it, which is totally okay. And some people even like switch them on purpose. There are some differences, but regardless of what you call it, they're both honoring the female ancestors. So yeah, it gets confused, but before we address Decibloat, like let's look at the importance of timing. Yeah. That is pretty much the most important thing. So here's where I'm trying to like make sense of everything. So Disting will fall on the first full moon after the first new moon after the 6th of January, if that makes sense. So in red in February, I wish I had, does this like, no, okay. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what that was. No. Okay, sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'm not pointing to things. But so if you look at the February 2017, the red circle is the first full moon in February, so Saturday, February 11th. And then if you look over in January to your left, the first new moon is Saturday, the 28th of January. Okay. And then Epiphany is in yellow. It's the yellow circle, and that's the 6th. So that's when Disting would take place, on or around the time of that full moon after the new moon after Epiphany. Okay, so we're there. So basically, oh, I don't know if I can read this. Hold on, guys. So okay, so basically, because the moon on the 13th of February, when the girls are, believed to have gone missing and then also been killed, the moon rises at 9:22 in the evening. And the moon would have been pretty far overhead by the time the search is called off. And if anybody knows like what time directly that is, could you please leave it in the comments? Because for some reason I've heard anywhere from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. is when it's called off. So yeah, I don't actually know. So okay. So basically, there were a whole bunch of factors as far as the temperature goes. So I don't know if you guys can see up above the orange box is kind of just the basic temperatures, day lengths, dew points, visibility, et cetera, of the 13th and 14th. for those 2 days. So there was a low dew point. That means there's not much moisture in the air. There was, at least 10-mile visibility. So, I mean, there wasn't much haze going on. I don't know if it was partly cloudy or not, but the fact that there's all these different factors kind of leads me to guess that it probably wasn't cloudy. So the full moon, probably was, well, it's the waning gibbous, but it's only 2 days out from the full moon. So that would have like given people enough light, especially considering when they decide to go out, because there's chances that the person or persons committing this crime, well, we already know the timeline's completely off and incorrect. So we now know that there's potential for these people to have then either taken the girls out at night, under nightfall, or, it just wasn't right away kind of thing. So the moon would have risen. By the time the search is called off, it probably was very high in the sky. So it would have illuminated the area to get down to where the girls were if they didn't want to bring along flashlights and kind of give away their position. Because I think there were still some people that were out there all night. But I don't know. I don't know much of the lore of the actual like facts. I only know the lore of like this kind of just like pagan stuff. So please feel free to correct me. I am not sure. Um, so yeah, okay, so we know more evidence is becoming available. It drastically alters or negates the timeline. Moonlight would have been critical to getting to the location the girls were later found. So now there's new questions that I have, like, could the perpetrator or perpetrators um, have been alerted to the search being called off? Like, was there someone in the search groups, knowing or unknowingly, um, helping them? Was the earliest time the searchers went back out in the morning of the 14th? Like, what time was that? Um, and then I just was like, why wasn't the crime actually committed on the 11th? Was there bad weather that day? And it does seem like 13 is going to be kind of popular for whatever reason. So, and then quickly in the orange box too, I wanted to address like these different ways of determining the different twilights. Twilight's referring to like dawn and dusk, but civil twilight is when it's considered like probably a good enough time to like go out and do activity without, tripping all over yourself. But if you were to go by this astronomical twilight where the sun is, what is it, 12 to 18 degrees below the horizon, this is the darkest twilight. But I've never tested this. So if you were to go out then, would you be able to like see your feet and stuff? Well, the moon's still up, probably. But anyway, you see what I'm saying? The moon's going to set at 9:14 a.m. though. So, or no, it's going to set at 9:45 a.m. because it's on the 14th. Yeah, that makes sense. But, the earliest searchers are probably going to be going out is around 6 o'clock a.m., or, there's somebody that's out there the whole time. I don't know. That would be good to know though. So, yeah, this is how we determine disting though. This whole thing. It's basically just, again, to reiterate, basically just it's the first full moon after the first new moon after Epiphany, which is January 6th. So good, we got that out of the way. So desubloat is, so these things, desting and desubloat gets confused all the time. Desubloat is like the bloat or sacrifice for the deceased, and it's a more private celebration of the deceased, who are these female ancestral spirits. So, and above in the right hand corner is like a gorgeous altar of what somebody might put together for their ancestors. Um, and then down below is my stuff. So, but I do have pictures all over the house of people that I want to remember and honor daily. And that's another aspect about pagan practice. Not to say that I'm a pagan, but just that it's more of a lifestyle rather than just a religion. So even though Dieselblot and Diesting are going to get mixed up, um, all you need to know is that you can use it as a time to gather in big groups, or it can be a very private affair, which is what Dieselblot would have been. So let's go into the next slide. Okay, so here's an example of what the Disir are. They're these powerful female spirits or beings, and they took a keen interest in families, lineages, land and estates, and the deeds or fate of specific individuals. So they could be regarded as like protective family spirits. And they could like follow family members around, like say you're moving village to village. Sometimes they could even be protecting like whole villages. Just depends on how big your family and village is, I guess. Um, but they were good for protecting against evil magic. Um, and they were considered mostly benevolent or helpful, but you really had to like put in the work in order to keep them happy. I mean, I don't know if they were like that fickle, but so they were generally just guardians of households and homesteads. And like depending on the region in Scandinavia or even in Germany and Denmark and such places, um, they could be like they could be almost like deities, you know? And so I found that interesting. I found it interesting too that they're always female, which is just very interesting considering that like s- w- so many of us when we think of Norse pagan culture, we think of Vikings. So um oh wow, you've got a lot of people. I haven't been looking at the stream. Oh hey guys. Hey Chelsea. Hey Not DB. Hi. Hi Louise. Hey guys. How's it going? Okay, now I'm really nervous. I'm gonna close this out. Okay. So um So I guess like there were times when they could be antagonistic or like really formidable. Um, and they didn't necessarily love unconditionally or serve altruistically. Um, so you did have to give them proper sacrifice. Otherwise, they would feel disrespected. It wouldn't be good. And you don't want your ancestral female spirits on your ass, kind of thing. You're fine. Sorry, my cats are just ridiculous. Anyway, so um, there are surviving texts that describe them as resembling other female spirits. So, like, scholars have like conflated them with entities such as the Vatir, the Firgir, the Valkyries, and the Norns. And there are some overlapping traits, but no scholar ever wants to like definitively say anything about anything because either they're working on their own theory of something or they don't want to be called out. So nobody in scholarly works that I've been reading and stuff, like nobody wants to just say anything definitively, which gets kind of frustrating. I wish they would just be like, oh well, this is the speculation on this kind of thing, or like this is what it's been rumored, or like that kind of stuff too, just to include everything, because I just want to know it all. So anyway, let's see. So let me see if I can get back to where I was. Okay, there we go. Hello. So let's see. Okay, so of the existing texts that are still surviving, the DCR tend to be most closely related to the Valkyries and the Fylgir. Okay, so they are very mysterious. I think in certain regions they were probably more definitively, like defined, for lack of a better word. But these are some other spirits too, because there's a whole plethora of spirits in the Norse, cosmology. So there are these things called alfars, and they're basically elves. Okay, so there's a popular YouTuber, Norse Magic and Belief. Yeah, Norse Magic and Belief, and he's Norwegian, from Norway, and he considers the alfar to be like male, and I don't know if that's like true, because so basically they hail from one of the 9 realms called Alfheim. Um, but I don't know all the references the way he does. So they're basically just ancestral beings associated with fertility, light, elves. They dwell in Alfheim, and they are considered distinct from like the Aesir and the Jotnar. The Jotnar are the giants, and the Aesir are the gods. Well, the clan of gods that Asatru worships, and other pagan groups. I'm going to get into so much trouble, guys. So they tend to embody a more elusive and mystical aspect of nature and magic. So then we also have the Haminya. Now the Haminya is kind of confusing because it's kind of an aspect of the person's soul. So it's a person's protective or guiding spirit, often associated with luck, fortune, and destiny. It represents the ancestral and personal luck of fortune that accompanies an individual or family throughout life. So sometimes, like, you can inherit the good luck, haminya of your family. It can like be passed down to you. I think sometimes they do get represented as like beings that like also you don't want to piss off, because there's this old saying that if you piss them off, or the Fylgja, you're gonna have really bad health, or they're just gonna catch up to you and it's not gonna be good. So basically then we get to Fylgja. And this is kind of like the fetch. If you guys have ever heard of the fetch and different folklores, the fetch is kind of like your animal familiar that, oh, I should just read it. So it's a shape-shifting spirit, and it's often portrayed in animal form, but it can be portrayed in human form. And it's like your guardian spirit, kind of like a guardian angel, but kind of more tangible. So they accompany and protect you throughout your life, but and sometimes you'll see them in dreams. But sometimes, like, at least in some of the sagas, when people see them, like, there's a story, I don't know which saga it is, but a guy sees, like, his friends, I don't know, somebody sees some animal and is like, "Oh shit, is that your Virga?" And the guy's like, "Oh yeah," and he ends up dying. He ends up dying because he sees it in real life, which is really spooky. And I'm like, I don't want to I don't want to look at any animals too long, you know. Um, so then we have the Vatir or Vatir. I'm probably mispronouncing a lot of these. I'm trying to mimic what I've heard other people say, so I apologize if I'm butchering it. I am trying, but so the Vatir are these spirits or beings that embody and protect natural features such as forests, mountains, rivers, or rocks. They influence and maintain the balance of nature in their respective domains, often interacting with humans who inhabit or interact with the landscape. So the way I kind of took this was like, um, if you guys are familiar with like the kami in Japan or like Japanese Shinto religion, there's kind of like a spirit in everything. It's not exactly one for one, but you know, especially in nature, everything's going to have its own energy, its own spirit. So that's kind of what I take the Vatir to be. They're not quite as high and mighty as the elves, but they are very prevalent in nature and they can do your bidding, so to speak, if you were to try to work with them. So then we have the Valkyries, and these are probably the most well known for most people. And they are the female warriors and divine maidens who they serve Odin, but they get the first dibs on the most brave and powerful warriors. So there's a real thing of Vikings liking to go out in glory, um, because you know if you genuinely think you're going to a hall where you're just going to have alcohol all the time and pretty ladies galore, like yeah, um, you know that's then they're like fine, kill me in battle, you know, I'll go out that way. um Let me check the comments real quick. Yeah, this is spooky. Inherited shitty luck. You're great, meow. Suggested a twist. Yeah. Could have women been involved, do you think? That's a great question, meow. I kind of wondered that too. Mm. If you remind me, like, let me know about that question again because it is very jihad. Yes. Um, that's a great question. Yeah, like if you remind me, I will definitely love to try to answer that question. But I'm gonna go here. Okay, so um, basically the Valkyries got the first dibs on the most courageous warriors, and they went to Freya's Hall, which is like Volk something. I can't like Volk Hall or I can't remember now. We could go into it, but not now. And they were very fierce, but they also chose the slain for Odin too. So yeah, I'm not sure how that works. I don't think a lot of people know how that works, but it's interesting. And then we have the Norns, and the Norns are these three. They're like the Fates. They're three powerful ladies down. There's a well at the bottom of Yggdrasil, the World Tree. Well, there's several wells, but they live down there, and they kind of just hang out together. Um, and, you know, I think there are some associations made to them, like being weavers and whatnot, but yeah, they remind me the most of the Disir, but that's just my own personal opinion from like what I've gathered. But all interesting. So there's all these other land spirits and warrior spirits and soul spirits to consider too when we're talking about Norse pagan ritual. And that's a lot of what we're seeing at the Deesting, because the Deesting is specifically to honor the Disir, who you don't want to piss off. So, and I tried asking, and I haven't gotten an answer from anyone, but I want to know if the DC are always female, and generally, like when we're reading the Norse sagas and stuff, the Firya, which is your, your fetch or the animal version or whatever it is, if those tend to be female for males, do women have male Firyas or fetches? I if you know, let me know, because I can't find anything. I can't find anything on it, and it would be interesting, like why wouldn't a male then be a good Firya for a female? I don't know. Okay, so these are just quotes that are going to be talking about that there was, in fact, a sacrifice that happened in Uppsala, Sweden, for a really long time. So, if anybody gives you any crap, you can be like, well, there's a bunch of attestations of it. Um, like Snorri, he was a guy that translated a lot of the sagas and a lot of the works, and he kind of put his own Christian spin on it. But overall, he did probably a better job than like guys that came before him, to be fair, but he's really the one that talks about like Sweden's, the Uppsala, the getting together, and that there was a sacrifice, and then that gets switched around when it becomes Christian, and it gets moved, and instead of being a week long, it's like 3 days long. Then there's Saxo Grammaticus. He's a little further back in time, but he's saying that like supposedly the gods resided at Uppsala, like Odin and Freyr. And for those of you who don't know, Freyr is he is in another tribe of gods that are like focused on fertility and growth. They're called the Vanir, and he is usually portrayed with a giant erection. So that was fun. You learn a lot. So basically, yeah, he's just saying that Odin lived there, Freyr lived there, in this temple area, or this like grove area, because it's more of a grove. There's burial mounds there, and there might have been a temple, but it's not like a lot of these guys are like, oh, it was made of all gold and stuff. No, they're not finding any of that. Archaeologically, they're not finding any of that. But I do want to read this from Adam von Bremen, because this stuff does get a little spooky. And I did take out quite a few of the needless details, because all these Christian writers are like, they have to preface everything with like, this is really despicable and sinful, and like, I can't believe these heathens, these pagans, I can't believe what they get up to. So this is just from Adam von Bremen. He says, at this point, I shall say a few words about the religious beliefs of the Swedes. That nation has a magnificent temple, which is called Uppsala. The people worship the statues of 3 gods there, Odin, Freyr, and Thor. So a general festival is customarily held every 9 years. Participation in the festival is required of everyone. The sacrifice is as follows. Of every kind of male creature, 9 victims are offered. By the blood of these creatures, it is then the custom to appease the gods. Their bodies, moreover, are hanged in a grove, so sacred to the people that the separate trees in it are believed to be holy because of the death or putrefaction of the sacrificial victims. There even dogs and horses hang beside human beings. The incantations, however, which are usually sung in the performance of a libation of this kind, are numerous. And of course, libation is the pouring out of a liquid, okay? Which, is potential to exist in what we're going to be looking at too. So just to continue, near that temple is a very large tree with widespread branches, which are always green, both in winter and summer. There is also a spring there, where the pagans are accustomed to perform sacrifices and to immerse a human being alive. As long as the body is not found, the request of the people will be fulfilled. For 9 days, feasts and sacrifices of this kind are celebrated. Every day they sacrifice one human being in addition to other animals, so that in 9 days there are 72 victims, which are sacrificed. This sacrifice takes place about the time of the vernal equinox. So, too, this could also be misconstrued too, the timing, of course, because like you're getting the carryover of the Julian and Gregorian calendars that aren't fully integrated everywhere, and or maybe disting could be held at different times of the year. Um, Whatever the case is, there's a ton of variation, and there also weren't 72 victims. They've archaeologically like dug that place up, and like they weren't killing that many people, just to cool everybody's jets. Don't worry too much. A giant, sorry, Candace, probably came. You probably came in at the wrong time. Sweet example. At least 5 Viking sacrifices. Nice. Okay, Denmark. Oh, that sucks. Okay. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't understand humans a little bit. But anyway, so if we look at the location where this all went down, um, and you'll have to forgive my terrible graphics because so in the left-hand corner is like an old map. I think it was like early 1700s of Uppsala and what it looks like. So those 3 burial mounds are called like the Royal King's Mounds. Um, and like there is a temple around there, but I did have to kind of like block it off. And it's kind of forested through there too. It's hard to see. And it's remarkable that this guy could put that to like the aerial view together, all things considered. So Gamla Uppsala, which is a very specific location in Sweden where they were performing these sacrifices. It was like one of the last pagan strongholds and stuff. It was navigable by water at one point. So you could row your boat in there. Oh, Candace, it's not a myth. Sorry. I don't know if you caught this. These aren't myths. These are attestations by people who lived in the time period. And they were still doing this like up into the 1500s sometimes. Or it's theorized. At least with Adam of Bremen, it was theorized. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these earlier things and there's archaeological evidence to show that these things really did. Yeah. Yeah. I hope you look into it because it's something. So anyway, so the important thing, I'm just gonna like make a comparison real quick here. And it could be a whole bunch of nothing. Like take of it what you will, right? Uppsala is navigable by water. So, as the land shifted and stuff, there's this thing called like post-glacial rebound. After the glaciers melt, the land kind of comes back up. Um, so this area, oh yeah, I forget that you can't see. I'm trying to point my browser, but it's not working. So if we look down in the lower right corner, there's a map, and roughly where that red dot is over the R and I of the Monon Bridge, that's kind of more likely where the girls were found. At least I could be totally off. I hope Hoosier's still in here. So he can maybe tell me, because I got on Google Earth and I did like the measurements. You can put out measurements too, I think even just within Google Maps. And, from I tried to measure 50 feet from where the water was, and I couldn't. It's more of a diagonal line, but yeah. So 50 feet in from the water is where they found the bodies. Okay, and then that dotted line, which is very hard to tell, I know, but there's a dotted red line that goes from the red dot all the way up to where the cemetery is, or the edge of the cemetery, and that was like 560 some feet, 570 some feet. And I think Hoosier said it was almost like a 70-foot incline. Okay. Which would, be kind of the same height as the bridge in a sense. I mean, if they were at the same level to begin with. But anyway, the important point is that they were close to the water. Okay. And I know there are a ton of theories. I'm not saying that like somebody rowed their boat out there or anything. I don't want you to think I'm saying that. I'm just saying that it was possible to navigate to that place um, in a boat if one was inclined to do so. So we also have the fact that they are close to the cemetery. Okay, who's your guess that? Okay, thank you. Yeah, you were so helpful, and like he has such a good theory, which you guys should wait around for. It's towards the end, but it's a great theory. So, yeah. So the fact that also that the crime scene is very close to the cemetery is akin to being close to a burial mound. Okay, so it's due north, right? Ish. It's due north-ish from where the crime scene is, that cemetery. And, the burial mounds are very important, at least in ancient Norse sacrifice and ritual for, being a place where people would go. The cemetery. Okay. Oh, yards. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Pit is directly south. Well, that's really interesting, Meow, because okay, just wait. Hold on. Yeah, it's gonna like rocks are gonna play a part too. This is getting weird. I don't like it. I don't like it. um, so, cemetery, burial mounds, they're similar. There's also I don't know, Candace. I don't know how to I don't know. That's stuff I would have to look into too. But anyway, so um, there is a bridge in the distance. The bridge is very iconic. So first of all, west. West is the direction that the sun sets. So you see this in ancient cultures all over the world. But, probably best known in ancient Egypt, but all of the tombs were on the west side of the Nile because that's where the sun set. That was the land of the dead. So the West is often considered or, likened to the 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 place of the dead, I guess. So if we think about it, due west, it is south, but I mean, I guess if you were to run into it, due west, um, it's symbolic. This bridges are symbolic of passing over. Same with well, crossing running water can have similar implications, but if we're looking at like Norse myth, there is this thing called the Bifrost Bridge, and it's the Rainbow Bridge, and it connects Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods, with Midgard, the realm of humanity. And it was just very important to have that interaction. And when it gets severed, bad things start happening. Hi, Royal We. Hello. Um, so it's the only direct link between the gods and men. And I wonder if, the bridge doesn't have fantastic symbolism attached to it. again, this is just my opinion. This is just like, take it for what it is. Um, I'm sure there are going to be like way better uh, insights that you guys have, because you guys have really given me a lot of insights. So, and then just the factor that like in February, it would where the girls were found would have been clear of underbrush, pretty much. If that area is prone to flooding and getting disturbed a lot, it would also kind of be free from underbrush. But yeah, it would just make the ritual easier. And I wanted to ask Hoosier too, um, like if there was kind of a circle of trees, if it was kind of, you know, um, I don't know, encircled, I guess, like a place where you could see like people gathering around in a circle. So I don't know. Um, but yeah, so those were a lot of those symbols I found with the location and the setting. Um, and then this is just for reference, guys. We don't have to talk about this too much, but I just wanted to show that they're the 3 common runic alphabets, because we're gonna be looking at the crime scene rendition of the crime scene in the next coming slides. So I am putting out a disclaimer right now. Um, if that's something you don't want to look at, we're going to be looking at it for a while. Okay. So I just want to mention though that pretty much in any like modern Norse pagan book these days, they're only really going to be talking about one of 3 alphabets. The most common is going to be the Elder Futhark and the light pink. Um, then they're going to be talking about like next most common, which is pretty much not as common, is the younger Futhark in the salmon pink, and then in the purple is the Anglo-Saxon, which pretty much nobody really goes over. So, but fair warning, if you guys need to leave, go ahead and do it now, because yeah, we will be looking at True Crime Design's rendition of the crime scene. So I kind of want to go over the theory that I had about how I tried to figure out what the runes were. So this was just kind of the basic foundation. If you really want to deep dive into it, I have like an hour-long presentation on it, which is super boring. So if you guys ever need to fall asleep to something, hi Amber, hello. Yeah, if you guys ever need to fall asleep to something, I recommend it. My family has not even watched it. I can't get my husband to look at it. So, you know, um, I'm coming across as even peaceful people. Yeah, that's true, Professor Pug. That is true. So basically, what I was looking for on the girls was just like anything that would match up. And as we go through, it's kind of circular. Oh, you said it was a bowl. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Hoosier. Okay, so on Abby, it looks like a hoggle. Okay, it's just kind of hard to not unsee that. It could be the Isa with the gable over it too. It could be a lot of things, right? But when I was explaining this process to people, I had to like kind of stick with a way of understanding it in its kind of simplest form, so then people could go and do something more with it if they found more. It was just kind of hard to like get across in the first place. So I wanted to keep it simple. I also believe that I found urus on Libby. Okay. But interestingly, the urus on Libby, if we're looking at the crime scene straight on, is inverted. So it's like mirrored opposite. Yeah, I can't unsee it either, Meow. There is like a later slide where I can see if we include the big branch that's pinning her arm down, pinning Libby's arm down, her left arm. Um, I can see how it could become an H, but it's still, I don't, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. But this is basically the methodology that I use to find the runes on each girl, okay? And I do wanna note that, like, I'm not attributing I don't mean to attribute the runes to them because, like, obviously this was done to them. Um, it was, this is not something that they would ever have chosen. Um, so ugh, Professor Pug, if you figure out I have Apophis stuff, will you teach me? Um, I feel like I don't know. He's very smart. Same with some stuff that Joe does. Like I'm like, can somebody teach me? Hi Dan, how's it going? Yay. Hi. Okay, so my voice is already doing stupid shit, guys. Sorry. We're having a presentation. It's gonna be fun. Well, it's not. I don't know why I said that right now. It's not fun right now. Um, yeah, teach us, Professor Pug. So I don't want to attribute like the runes to them because obviously this was something that was done to them. That's not something they would do. Um, but basically, Abby is the Hoggle and Libby is the Urus. So this is just kind of going over what they mean. So if you guys like get interested, basically Hoggle is just hailstone. Um, it destroys things when it rains down hail, especially crops, but it can delay like endeavors, like it can mess with infrastructure and you know, it can literally blight the land. So that was the stick that was on Abby, in my opinion, just my opinion, because it could be anything, right? Um, then the Urus, see, it is inverted. Okay, so I was trying to factor that in at the time as well, but it may be too that we don't need to factor it in because of stuff that we find later. So anyway, um, Urus is the bull, the aurochs. So um, it has connotations of like strength, power, but also stubbornness. Then it also kind of has like correlations to like vitality and semen. Sorry. Um, it it can go into how Urus is kind of like the life force that creates form, which is really interesting because the form is the Hoggle rune. So the Uruz rune on Libby is the life-giving force that creates form, which is the Hoggle rune on Abby. Okay? That was just something that I found. Like, you know, feel free to find other correlations too. I'm open. I'm always open to anything because like we can't know. We'd have to like actually apprehend the correct people, and I don't think that the correct person has been apprehended. Okay, so then just for clarity's sake, I found the way that the girls were posed. I found runes in that too, and then these were some of the things, but I I was slow to make this presentation, so I did not fully flush out like some of the new stuff that I'm thinking about. Hence why I think like with Abby being laid out, I think maybe it should be a Berkana because of her arm jutting out. So we'll be going over later, but Libby is kind of posed, in my opinion, like the Naughties inverted, which is the Elder Futhark. So the most common runic alphabet is the Elder Futhark, and of that alphabet, I found Naughties inverted. Okay, You're fine. Go away. Go. If we're looking at it through the lens of the younger Fusark, then it's the letter R, which is AR. Okay? No. Go. Sorry. So needy. Okay, so before I like really a lot of things opened up, you'll see. I considered what Abby was an inverted 30 okay? Um, and 30 is pretty much the worst rune. Like if you're trying to do harmful magic against somebody, it is the rune for that, okay? Um, and then, like I was saying with Livy, I thought it was either now T's or R, because R is, you know, from the younger Futhark, the more common now T's, it would just be inverted. So now T's is this need or necessity. It can have like a lot of connotations of fate. Again, there's a lot of connections of fate with the Disir, like the Norns and the Disir overlap a lot for me anyway, just in how I interpret them. So yeah, like I guess you could say that there's a lot of interpretation. Oh yay! Thank you, All Eyes. Yeah, my cat is such a diva. I don't know. Can you upload it? I don't know how to upload. Like, tell me, how to do that. And I'll try to figure it out. Um, so anyway, the runes, the way that the girls were posed, of course, I know I'm attributing each one their own rune, but of course they would, this is done against their will, So those were the runes that I found attributed to them. But this is what I found the most compelling. And to this day, like I thank T so much from Criminality for having me on, because I would never have figured this out. I don't think I would have gotten there. Like I honestly don't think I would have gotten there without them. So let me make this bigger. So basically, this is I'm going to show you how the crime scene was inverted. So if we're looking at this top left corner, that's what the crime scene looks like, okay? But when we consider that there was this FBI search warrant done by Nicole Robertson, and she she lists like everything that has anything to do with all things electronic or photographic. So anything that has anything to do with anything that could be recorded. So I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm just going to quote this. So she says, based upon my training and experience, it is common for perpetrators of this type of crime to take a quote unquote souvenir or in some fashion memorialize the crime scene, whether by photos or electronic devices that store digital data for later viewing, scanning, or copying. Sorry, losing my voice. Okay, so Teresa's T's chat was like, hey, try inverting it. Try inverting the crime scene, like doing the mirror opposite, like literally flipping it on its vertical axis, flip it horizontally, and this is what you get. So it's not much to look at, but if you go over from left to right, you'll see that if we clean up the lines, we're actually getting some interesting stuff, okay? So on Libby, if we are including that big branch that looks like it's pinning down her left arm to touch the tree, yeah, her left arm, then we are getting an H. So, I still think it could be a U, like an Urus, but, I wanted to consider everything, so that could be a potential. And I did not include the Urus in there, which I should have, but I was just quickly doing this and taking this from old slides, so I was naughty and I did not do that. I apologize. But, You can also find in the way that Libby is posed that she is now not an inverted Nautes, but a regular Nautes from the Elder Futhark. Because before I was having to like make all these concessions, like why would they invert it? Why is everything opposite? Why is everything backwards? And because if they were purposely inverting it, they could potentially take pictures or record it and it would look the way they wanted them to look. And if we understand this, then this person is, or people are very meticulous, just like ridiculously so. Also considering like the timing and the layout, the location that was picked, like somebody thought about this, okay? So I'm not saying this is exactly what happened or what it means or whatever. Like draw your own conclusions, but this is kind of what I came to. So Abby or Libby was posed with the Nautes now in the correct direction. There's also a Lagus in there. If we consider that the pinned down arm, Libby's left pinned down arm, which is inverted here, is not like directly connected to the rest of her. If it's disjointed, we're getting a Lagus. So we're getting the potential of an L, an N, and an H, and a U, in my opinion, because of Urus, which I forgot to include. I hope everybody's following this, by the way, because like ADD, you jump like 3 steps ahead sometimes without explaining how you got there. But then on Abby, it's very telling because within her figure pose, which is the blue, okay, we're getting an Ingvaz. So we're also getting an I in there, like an Ingvaz, but we're getting a Berkana too. And there's a ton of runes in that. But it's now forward facing. It's not inverted anymore. So I couldn't really show. I'm going to go back one slide. So see how Abby is laid out in the blue. The figure rune is, I thought it was 30 sas, okay? But if we're to take her jutted out arm and like connect that with the jutted out leg, we're getting a Berkana, which is a symbol of the goddess. So, and of course we're getting the haggle because the haggle's still there. So, because like it doesn't matter if it's inverted or reversed or whatever, it's there. So these are some of the things that I found. I don't know if it means anything. I think if you take it in comparison with some of the other information that has been shown, based on like some people's social media and stuff, it could be more relevant. Okay. And if we take all these things together too, in my opinion, it has more weight than if we were to look at them just one-on-one, right? Dyslectic. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let me go forward. Okay. So let me make this bigger too. I'll need to remember to like actually make the font bigger, guys. Okay. So this is where we're getting into like the hanged man and stuff. And hopefully this isn't cutting off your view of it. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Let me see. Sorry, I just need to make sure. Okay, good. It's not. Okay, so you guys can read this. So now I wanted to include some of the symbolism behind potential tarot cards, right? Because everybody's like, oh, there's tarot cards. And, you know, very well could be. So basically, if we're looking at Abby, you know, in the middle here, the top middle is the picture of the girls with both of their, oh, it looks like I missed a line. Yeah. I missed a red line in the diagonal line going through the hoggle. But so we have Abby and Libby at the top in the middle, okay? And then we have, and that's what the crime scene looked like. And then on the bottom middle, we have the inverted. crime scene. Okay. So what it would look like if somebody was recording it, okay, or self-emoting it, whatever. So there's potential that Abby is meant to be replicating Odin or Loki. Um, and so in the Rider-Waite Tarot, Abby does seem to appear very similar to the 12th card, which is the Hanged Man. And, I do like say that you can't read tarot cards reversed unless it's a special kind of deck, because you'd basically be looking at those cards in the mirror to see them inverted. So you can see them reversed, and that's when you draw them upside down or you select them upside down, but you won't really ever see them inverted unless it's like a see-through deck or like there's some sort of mirror effect that you get with it. I hope that makes sense. I hope people are understanding that there's a difference between like reversed and inverted. By inverted, I basically just mean that it's mirroring itself. Okay. So if we were to take the Hanged Man card, and then reverse and invert it, we would get what Abby is. Okay. What she looks like now in the inverted crime scene. I'm hoping people are following. So traditionally, the hangman represents sacrifice or self-sacrifice. The seeker who draws the card upright may be experiencing the negative effects of like being alienated or being scapegoated in some way, which was another fascinating thing that I had brought up to me, the golden child versus the scapegoated child, which might be interesting to talk about at some point too. But let me remove this banner real quick because I got to be able to read the thing. Okay, so yeah, somebody who is being treated unjustly. When it's in its upright position, the hanged man is somebody who is kind of, being mistreated. But in its reversed position, it might mean that the seeker is being too self-righteous or acting like a martyr or victim. So if the crime scene is meant to be looked at as though it were in selfie mode, Abby would be in the reversed position of the inverted. No, go. Sorry. Go. Okay. So the hanged man, he may have his hands restrained behind his back, and her hands are tucked into her sweatshirt, so they're kind of bound, but they're not bound behind her, if that makes sense. And Abby is both fully and extra clothed. So this could be a symbolic reference to Odin because Odin is regal. So he would have like, nice clothing, probably extra clothing, and a crown. And of course, Abby has stuff in her hair. She has twigs, at least, in her hair. So, yeah, and Odin purposely hanged himself. He sacrificed himself to himself so that he could have the power and knowledge of the runes. But if we're to also look at the sticks in Abby's hair, if it's not the halo that we also see on the Hanged Man card, or a crown attributed to Odin because he's the chief of the gods, or the Aesir gods at least, then those twigs could be horns or antlers, which symbolically kind of connect her to the trickster Loki. And I don't want to discount anything because this could be anything, right, guys? Like it could be a lot of things. So there was also an idea that was presented. I know this person doesn't want to be named, but there is this idea of Abby being dressed. And to the Reddit user, you know who you are, and you're fantastic. But this is a term that hunters use when they prep a killed animal, like for butchery, when they're, or to prepare it later for food kind of thing. So there was another person actually on Hoosier Cold Cases live, which was awesome. I definitely recommend everybody go and check that out. Rick H made an excellent observation where he noted that like there was a bunch of stuff brought up about Abby having 2 bras on. And you know, after the comment was made that the dressing can be in relation to the hunter, he made the point that the elk have 4 teats. So like 2 bras, you guys see what's happening. Math. So the hanged man, he's in a very humbling, humiliating situation. If we're to look at him like he's an actual person, or like what is the situation going on, like the hanged man is at the mercy of onlookers. He's dangling by 1 foot, and his arms are restrained. And then to kind of counter that, we're going to address this and look at Libby's. But Libby, if she is the magician, the counter of the hanged man is that the magician is unencumbered in movement, and by societal expectations. His arms are free and his feet are firmly on the ground, both of them, or at least like kind of what we can tell. So now if we look at Libby, we have her being potentially portrayed as the magician card. When we invert the crime scene, she becomes the normal magician. Okay. So the magician is the first card, and actually like the fool is the first card, but it's numbered at 0. So technically the magician would be the second card, but it's the first card normally in every tarot major arcana. And like it can't be read as inverted. So it's interesting now that we have inverted the crime scene because it makes that tarot card normal. And when the magician's in its upright position, like he represents power, specifically the innate power of the self and the mind. And this power can be used to achieve great and virtuous aims or not. So it's a card of individuality and innovation, and like, yeah, being your own unique self, but following kind of like your ambitions too. So in its reversed position, the card represents the destructive potential of ambition, or like overestimating one's ability to like adequately handle power. Like a lot of people seem to think, oh, if I was king of the world, I would be benevolent and stuff. Well, just wait till you have a bad day, kind of thing, So both the hanged man and the magician symbolize the individual, but the hanged man is ostracized from society. But the hanged man, or the magician, sorry, they're in a position to reject society because they want to. So the hanged man has no power, while the other, the magician, believes they have intrinsic power in their own self-belief. So so the absence of clothing on Libby may be meant to be extra disrespectful, especially when comparing the extra dressing of Abby. So like it could just be that opposite, if we're noticing that Abby is extra dressed, then we're definitely noticing that Libby's nude anyway, right? But it could be an extra FU to Libby because Abby is getting more respect, more or less, which is stupid because they've both girls have been killed, but just trying to put that in perspective, maybe. So if we're looking at this like their Norse archetypes of stuff, then we have to consider that possibly if Abby is connected to Odin or Loki, then it's very possible that Libby is meant to portray Freya as the Cider practitioner or the Volva, which sounds very similar to the female part. I know, but that's how you pronounce it. So Volva. And a Volva was a priestess of the magical arts who often undressed or performed ritual nudity to induce trance or become more connected with the energies of the rite or ceremony being performed. So that was interesting to me. And it has been contested among scholars that like Freya and Frigg are one and the same. Frigg is the wife, the queen to Odin. And Freya has often been conflated with Frigga. So I just thought I would incorporate that, the tarot, because it has several implications if we think about it. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Coventina. Hi. So, yeah, I hope this is making sense. It's a lot of symbolism and, but here we are. Sorry, guys. So, there's a lot of symbolism with the gallows tree, too. And the gallows tree is very associated with Odin because Odin, like, he hangs himself and stabs himself with his own spear, and hangs on the world tree Yggdrasil for 9 nights and 9 days so that he can obtain the power of the runes. And I will mention quickly that Yggdrasil is often associated with an ash tree, and sometimes it gets associated with a yew tree, and yew trees are very commonly found in cemeteries. Oh, good, Jen. Thank you. I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, man, I'm boring myself. So, anyway, so during disting, it was well documented that animals and humans were hanged. Like we noticed that dogs and horses were hanged next to humans in these sacred tree groves over in Uppsala. So if they were hanged for a means of like draining blood and then collecting it for ritual and for preparing it for butchering, to be used for the feast and the gathering, the festivities or whatever, parts of the animal that could not be consumed or reasonably used were offered to the tree spirits. So those same trees that served as the gallows to those sacrificial victims, the animals and the humans, were then being presented with portions of, inedible meat or, maybe like bone and stuff. Just something to consider. So there was this, there are several practices now that, hi, little butterball. Hello. So it could, like, these things could have been practiced too at the crime scene. This thing called utiseta, and then the idea of trollkunnig. Okay, I'm probably saying that wrong, and I apologize. Utiseta, so this was an ancient Norwegian thing. It involves spending time alone in nature. Like, you go out in the middle of the night, basically. And it had to do with being isolated, being alone, and then trying to commune or connect with the ancestors or the land spirits. So It it requires solitude, silence, and immersion with the natural world, spiritual reflection, finding inspiration and or visions like prophetic visions, and it may involve ritual offerings, chanting, or other activities meant to create a spiritual experience. Um, so there's this thing in Sweden called Arsgang, where I think it like translates to yearly walk, but um, when Sweden got Christianized, the it got outlawed. The utiseta, the sitting out, got banned. And if you were caught doing it, is super harsh punishment. Like you would be banished or like deemed outlaw, utegard, and that you could like lose all your property, all your like possessions. You'd be banned. Hey, Cryptex, hello, hi. Um, and you would be banned from coming back. And if they caught you coming back, yeah, like your days were numbered. They had the right to kill you, kind of thing. So you really didn't want to be caught sitting out or practicing utiseta because it also is like very much about communing with spirits that aren't Christian spirits, right? Um, so when the Swedish version of utiseta gets banned, I think it was the 1200s at some point, um, they come up with this new thing called Arshgang, which is just like walking all night. So it's basically the same thing, connecting with the nature spirits, but like you have to keep walking all night, which is like people were probably in great shape back then, you know? Like I should try. Well, I can be, well, I don't know. Some nights I can stay awake all night, but um yeah. So, but there was also this there was also this other practice where it was like utiseta, but you would sit out under a gallows tree with a hanged person in it. And the idea um, is to ride the dead person's soul into the realms, the otherworldly realms, to then access information from the dead. Like, I think it says it in here. It's like, what would you gain? You would get like broader concepts. So you could like obtain prophetic visions, wisdom, hidden. You could like have hidden secrets revealed to you. And people who did this were called trollkunnig. It's also called troll cunning. But the practitioners are called, I think they're called, where is it? Trollkunniga, Trollkunniga, or Trollkunnigar. And these people are like well versed in sorcery. So they would practice the form of Seder, and Seder is like it's a divination practice, and it has a lot to do. It's very shamanic in nature. It's very like go into trance, induce trance, and then kind of come back like Oracle of Delphi, right? Kind of come back with the answer that you were looking for through these ecstatic visions. Um, and besides cider, which men should not be practicing cider, it was considered very like horrible. Like you would get called all sorts of really horrible names if you did this. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. If you were a man practicing Seder, okay. So, but I guess like the Trollkönig could then do that. They could do the Seder, and hopefully never get caught, or they could do Galdr. And Galdr is more of like it's mostly just a runic incantation that involves chanting and spell work with the runes. So yeah, so all of these energies could be used to influence fate, heal, protect, or harm. But I think it has more of a negative connotation because it's not widely used. So, yeah. So trees are very important. This is Hoosier. I hope you're here because this is the fantastic. He brought this up and he has excellent um, insights. So very quickly, the importance of trees. So trees are guardians. In Swedish, I think they're called like vartrad. Let me make this bigger. Vartrad. And like the oldest or most prominent tree growing on the homestead or property was considered to be this Vartrad, which was a warden tree. So the warden tree was kind of like the lookout. He's like the overseer or the head guard um, of the whole area. Hey Hoosier, yes, we're talking about your awesome idea. Um, so basically, like the Vartrad almost seems like a Haminya or Philia in some of the descriptions. That's why so many of these spirits and concepts overlap, which gets confusing. But here, just let me read this. Like, so you really didn't want to piss off this warden tree. And like if you were to break a leaf or twig, it was considered like a serious offense. And you also like the land whites, the Vatir, lived in the roots or under the roots of the warden tree. So if you were to like make offerings to the Vatir, you'd want to put them at the base of this tree. Okay. So uh, people that have trees on their properties go out there and whichever guy is the biggest and most prominent, he's the one you don't want to piss off. So it was believed that the land whites, they lived under the roots. You'd want to give them treats. So this Vartrad comes from the Old Norse Volthr. Volthr. I can't say it. I'm sorry, guys. It just means warden, watcher, or caretaker. Um, so, and it also had a lot of connections to the person's soul. So that's where we're getting into Haminya and Virya territory. So, um, it was believed to follow the person's soul, like the Hugar, from life to death. And like in Christian times, the tree wardens became something akin to like a good or bad conscience or a guardian angel. So somehow, in some space of time, the tree warden can kind of become its own part or own spirit. Oh, thank you, Hoosier. That's very nice. Thank you. Um, so yeah, and so this was called Hugar, and then to me they symbolize like this concept now that the Christians are kind of like adopting into their own belief system of the warden tree or the Vartrad warden spirit is a guardian angel. So sometimes the warden could reveal itself as a small light or in the shape of anything, and this is called Hammer, the ability to take on a shape. So it's kind of got shape shifting qualities too. So it could take on the shape of the person that it like revealed itself to or kind of looked after. So perceiving the apparition of another person's warden could cause a physical sensation, such as an itching hand or nose. So I hope you guys all remember that the next time your hand or nose itches. Sorry. People with extrasensory gifts were believed to perceive a person's warden before their physical arrival. And this is creepy. The warden of a deceased individual could also become a revenant, haunting particular spots or individuals. So, hey Dave, how's it going? So on a recent live, this is from Hoosier Cold Case, guys. Gotta go over there. On a recent live, the channel Hoosier Cold Cases mentioned an excellent theory concerning the double-trunked tree found at the crime scene. And I might have gotten this wrong, Hoosier, so please feel free to correct me. As I understood, this tree stood at the head of where Abby and Libby were laid out, where their heads were like closer to this tree and their feet were further away. And Hoosier had researched possible symbolism tied to the double-trunked tree, finding references to Jewish myth of the roots extending down into the earth. Some for good. Oh, thank you, Dave. Thank you. Some for yay. Okay, cool. Some for good, some for evil. So there's like a polarity here now. Um, the polarity of the tree's roots can also be found in Greek philosophy, like vice and virtue, and concepts of life and death, and more shamanic applications of the theme. The only two references, Hoosier, that I could find, and this took me a long freaking time, was there's an ancient in Japanese mythology, there's an ancient tree called the Yatagarasu tree, and I'm probably butchering that as well, but Yatagarasu. And then there was another double-trunked tree in the Native American Zuni mythology, and this was a double-trunked sacred cottonwood tree. So, hi Gambies, hello! Yay! Um, so the closest I came to making a connection to Norse mythology, so far, anyway, like I haven't, read everything that's ever existed, but um, was that there's a story, this creation story of the first man and first woman, and they're created by Odin and his brothers, Vili and Ve. So Odin and his brothers came across two trees, washed up on the shore, presumably a primordial sea, and one tree was an ash tree and the other was an elm. Um, oh, this is okay. This is dark arts. Hi, Dave. I see you in a lot of people's chats. Sorry. Yeah, lots of cottonwoods. Yeah. Okay. So then Odin, they, okay. So one tree was an ash, the other was an elm. There's these two trees. They're, washed up on the shore. Odin and his brothers decide to bestow them with these things that animate them. So Odin bestowed the trees with breath, giving them spiritual life. Vili bestowed them with consciousness so that they might experience the ability to think and feel, and Ve bestowed them with the gift of vitality in appearance and form. So thus the ash tree became the first man, Ask, and the elm tree became the first woman, Embla. And these are from the Volopspa and the prose Edda from the this is Gylfaginning section. So in Hoosier Cold Cases chat, there's a user, Goat Dog, I think that was it. They suggested that Victorian England often used symbolism of a double-trunked tree on tombstones to represent interconnectedness and death. Like this would happen if usually a couple was sharing like one headstone. And so then Rick H. did make mention of Nidhogger, the serpent that gnaws at the roots of Yggdrasil, possibly being a connection because, branches like the trunks are kind of just, they're things that jut out from it. Same with the roots, but they just go in opposite directions. So I'd like to explore this idea more. And I did have a chance to ask Hoosier Cold Cases if that particular double-trunked tree was the only one in the immediate area. And he visited in December, it should be December 2020, not December 2017. Almost 3 years later after the girls were murdered. But it looked very similar to a lot of the photos and like video of around the time period that the girls were murdered. His videos, the terrain looks very similar. So, and as he remembered, it was one of the only double-trunked trees. So, there is full footage on his channel of the entire area, and I recommend you go and watch for yourself. And definitely subscribe if you're not already, because he's awesome. He's got great footage and great insight. So, um, okay. So, no, stop. Go on, go. Being a troublemaker. Got a very troubling kitty. Okay, so, um, I still can't figure out what the tree species is, guys. If anybody knows, let me know. I did a really nerdy thing. I went and looked up like all the trees that were common to central Indiana. I spent like hours doing this. This was really weird. Um, but okay, I'm gonna have to enlarge it again. I apologize. So the trees common to central Indiana include the ash, aspen, basswood, beech, birch, black cherry, black gum, black locust, black walnut, buckeye, cedar, the red eastern cedar, chestnut, coffee tree, cottonwood, cypress, dogwood, elm, hackberry, hickory. Wow, there's a lot of names. Hornbeam, maple, oak, plum. So just looking at all the common trees of the area and comparing their bark, I thought possibly the closest was if we're just comparing them by bark, I thought maybe American plum, black cherry, buckeye, bur oak, chestnut, Kentucky coffee tree. Yeah, and that's it. So, but chestnut was my very best guess if you were to make me like choose. So, now on to bloats. So I just want to kind of give you guys an idea of what a bloat might look like. Oh, Sonic, you should, if you figure out what that tree is, it's too difficult. I think it's probably too difficult to know. But anyway, it would be wonderful to get anybody's insights on anything. So, um, but yeah, so now I'm just going to talk about the bloat real quick because I just kind of want you guys to have an idea of what it would look like. And keep in mind, modern pagans are borrowing heavily from ancient sources, um, although normal pagans aren't killing people, okay? They're very nice people. They're usually very hippie people. So, and blood is the life force that keeps us alive, not alive. I should have double checked this. But it's considered sacred and it should never be spilled needlessly. So, bloats are blood sacrifices made to the deities, ancestral guides, or other spirits. They're usually performed ceremonially by a priest or gosi, and blood sacrifices were reserved for special observances during the year and or on full moons. Well, it's a couple days after the full moon. Was the weather bad that day on the full moon, the 11th, 2 days earlier? Like, would there be a reason to not go out and do something on that full moon? I kind of want to know. Or is the 13 number too important? Because, I forgot to mention that. Okay. So if you look at smack dab in the middle, there is just some text that says, we're going back to the tarot real quick, guys, because I totally spaced. So this is just a coincidence. It probably means nothing, but here we go. So if you add the 12 card with the 1 card, so you add the number 12 hanged man card with the number 1 magician card, you get 13. So the 13th card, or the card that's numbered 13 in the tarot deck, is the death card, which I was like, fantastic. That's sarcasm. Okay. So let's just get, okay. So yeah, bloats usually happen on the full moon. What was going on the 11th? Does anybody know? I need to know. Does anybody know? Was it raining? Was it shitty out? What was going on? Could they not pull it off on the 11th, or was the number 13 really important to them for whatever reason? So practically the full moon is common to hold things in ancient societies for gatherings because it provides the most light for activities during the nighttime hours. So since most bloats were performed outside, the extra light would be helpful. Stop, you're fine. The extra light would be helpful, and um, yeah, it just I like that's where you get all the witches' sabbats and stuff, all that lore that gets passed down through European folklore, all that stuff. So, if they are performing a bloat, um, in olden times, like people would be gathered by the priest or the Goldie, and a procession would ensue to the sacred site. So, likely a grove of trees with nearby running water or a working well. So generally, the ceremony would begin with a prayer by the Gothi, and the prayer could be to any specific deity or spirit. Um, but pretty much in all the surviving historical texts, the first opening prayer is dedicated to Odin. So either prior to this prayer or while it's happening, a stone altar would be constructed of stones piled atop one another. There's another thing to look out for in the woods. If people go hiking and you find stacked stones, yeah, sometimes it can mean certain things by certain hikers, um, but it can also be a makeshift altar. Okay, so um, mention prayer, stone altar. Okay, so they could be, yes, stone altar could be compiled of stones piled on top one another. The outside altar name for the altar was like Hother, Hoger. I can't remember, but um, there is a separate altar inside and out. Just so you guys know, because it's super important. Um, so besides the actual blood offering, it's unknown what other customs were performed, so people will make up their own rites to go along with this. Assuming they're sacrificing an animal, I think a lot of people are going to the local butcher and probably just being like, "Hey, do you have some extra blood?" Which sounds so weird. That just sounds weird. But yeah, I think that does happen because I've actually seen people perform stuff on YouTube and be like, "Yeah, I got this from the butcher. This blood is from the butcher. I didn't kill anyone." Or they killed someone. I don't know. So yeah, we don't know what other customs were performed besides the prayer and then the bloodletting and what was done with the bloodletting. So the animal may have been ritually brushed or washed down to purify it. I mean, most sacrifices are usually purified before they are sacrificed, hence kind of the relevance of the running water nearby. Um, you know, if you're assuming this is a real ritual for real deities and you really believe that the deities exist and want things a certain way, you're going to go out of your way to purify the people that you're sacrificing, which is just terrifying. Um, so the animal would have been brushed or washed, and then the blade that was used for the sacrifice, it would be reserved specifically for that act alone, and it would be very sharp and well cared for. So you want your blade to be really sharp too, so it's less inhumane. So the Gothi would then make the cut, likely in the obvious place animals are, you know, today in the neck, where yeah. And so blood would then be collected by the priest, either in a bloat bowl or like people would all have wooden cups and they would collect it themselves. So a good amount of blood would be poured over the stone altar. And this is why rocks are so important, Meow. If you're still in chat, this is why if there's stones anywhere in the area, it would have been really interesting to have looked through them all and just seen if there's any debris, anything on them. Um, Maybe even in the creek, look in the creek. Um, so a good amount of blood would have been poured over the stone altar, and then a, a vessel would be passed around to drink from to absorb some of the animal's life force. Now, this could include with it mead, could be mixed in with mead or some other drink, but this was a thing that was done. It's attested to in many sagas and referenced by, you know, Christians being disgusted with the pagans. um, so, um, again, the largest, most prominent tree in the grove would then be smeared with the blood. Okay. And that's kind of where we're getting the idea of the F tree from, too. And this was meant to wake up the spirit of the tree, to imbue it with life force. And there's a lot of attestation that, like, there's a ton of Norse. Stop. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. Hey, Eric. Will you please Emma because he's interrupting? And then could you put some medicine in his stuff? Thank you. Sorry, guys. The desperate kitty. Okay. So the tree would be smeared with blood, and then the animal would be taken away and could be strung up on one of the nearby trees to further drain it. So that, I guess, like when you're preparing the animal for eating, you want to try to remove as much blood as possible because it can spoil the taste, and or if you're trying to preserve it in the long run, it can cause spoilage sooner than later. So it's kind of it's pretty necessary, I guess, to remove it. So any remaining blood that was collected, like in the bloat bowl, would be sprinkled with like twigs that were bound together in little bundles. You dip the twig in the bloat bowl or your little wooden cup, and you would sprinkle that on the altar. You would sprinkle that on yourselves. You would sprinkle that on the trees, on rocks, all the surrounding areas, just to, you know, I guess acknowledge like the sacrifice that has been made, because an animal did give its life, and um, I guess giving life back to the land too. So, oh, this is what I was going to say. So, I could get out of this now. Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay. Well, anyway, so basically, there are Norse pagan practitioners who are like, don't ever use your own blood to ritually like sanctify anything. Because, oh, that was another thing. So blood could be sprinkled on special items. Like, say you have a new knife that you want consecrated, you would bring it to that bloat, and you could have the Goldie sprinkle blood on it. Okay. But I've heard like opposite things. I've heard that some Norse pagan practitioners are like, never use your own blood to do anything. Like, don't mark a tree with it. You're giving away your life force. Okay. I've seen other places where people are like, I sacrifice or put blood on certain like landmarks or certain trees or certain stones or whatever to kind of like leave portions of my soul or my like energy or something, so that I'm like reserving it for later, kind of like a Horcrux. If anybody's familiar with Harry Potter, like yeah, I hope that idea makes sense. So anyway, this is the end of the discussion. But oh yeah, okay. So in conclusion, all this information is why I think there's a very good case to be made that um either Abby and Libby were killed as a pagan practice or to look like a pagan practice. There's a lot of paganism there. I don't know what else to do with it, Like we know investigators examined a non-secular spiritual angle, okay? Because we've got like all this documentation. Um, there's so many coincidences, like disting and the closeness to the full moon, um, the association with like the Norse pagan spirits and stuff at this time, and the land, the overlap with spirits, that are supposed to be honored at Disting with land spirits and ancestral spirits. Um, and then we're also getting like the location is near running water. It's similar to Uppsala, right? The cemetery is symbolic of a burial mound because it's literally up a hill, like a giant hill. It's like a 70-foot incline, goes up. Well, it's not straight up, but you know what I mean. Um, and this hill with the cemetery is then overlooking the crime scene. Directly to the west is the direction of the setting sun and the bridge, okay, to the land of the dead, so to speak. And the crime scene, of course, is a grove of trees, which is, that's fair. Like February, most things are going to be dormant or dead from the cold and extreme weather kind of thing. So there's not going to be much underbrush. But if there's also like a lot of rocks nearby, that would be interesting because that would make it a convenient spot to like do your little altar. They don't mention an altar in any of the reports that we've gotten, but you know, there's been a lot of stuff that hasn't been revealed to the um the defense team. So basically like there's so the location too, um, and then of course the deliberate posing of the girls, and then putting sticks over them deliberately. And yeah, they could mean a lot of things, but it's got a lot of Norse stuff in it. Like I can't really get past that. Notice I didn't address the rune on the tree because I don't know what rune it is. It's hard to see. I don't want to speculate. I mean, I'm already speculating, right? I'm already pissing off a lot of people. But like I just need to know if I'm crazy kind of thing. Because it could be because, it could be that you see patterns everywhere. The human mind does that, but I don't know. And then like the association with like the tarot cards and the tarot cards being kind of representative of Odin and Loki with the Hanged Man, and the association of Freya with the magician, because like she became the head practitioner of Satyr, right? And that there was ritual nudity involved. Like maybe that makes more sense. I didn't really address the blood on Libby's hands because like I don't know what to make of that. Um, I also like the fact that they were so close to that river. Well, I mean it's a big creek. It's a kind of intimidating creek. That they were so close is like a perfect opportunity to ritually purify them, you know. Those poor kids. I just so um oh, and then the fact like Hoosier brought up, who is a genius because of the double trunked tree. It's kind of the dichotomy of the maleness and femaleness brings me back to the hanged man being Odin or Loki and the magician being Freya. That's tenuous, right? Tenuous, but it goes back to the first creation, the first humans, the first male and female, the ash and the elm, Osk and Umbla, right? Um, and then, so consider the trees at the crime scene, the devil trunk tree. Um, trees in general are really important because like they represent the wardens of the land, the overseers. They kind of like are the hubbub of where all the land spirits, a little fatir, would hang out and live. Um, it's territorial too. You know what I mean? Like, you know how gangs like spray paint on stop signs? I don't know why it just feels territorial. I don't know. And that trees can be awakened with blood too, so it's not just territorial, but um so yeah, if we know about like stuff that's connected to the bloats and blood and sacrifices, um and that pagans can develop their own whatever they want. It's a personalized practice. You can pick and choose. It can be as eclectic as you want it to be. You can try to recreate it from scratch. But pagans have done that. There's whole little covens and stuff that are their own thing. But there's a lot of stuff that lines up with historical stuff and stuff. So that is my inarticulate way of saying that my mind is blown a little because it feels overwhelming. But I do want to reiterate, like, I understand that the human mind likes to find patterns. This is the last sentence too. So, but at what point should one say, okay, that, I'm good on patterns, or like, that doesn't mean anything? I don't know, because to me, it feels purposeful. So, but again, I'm biased because I've been looking at it, you know? Um, and it has been a mental exercise. Like, I did not want to talk about this kind of stuff because I didn't feel like I had the right to, because like I'm not a Norse pagan practitioner. Um, I would say I resonate with the pagan community, and like that's fine. I don't like categories, but you know, eh, but at the same time, I have people close to me that are heathens. Okay. Um, but anytime I tried to get anybody on the record, they were like, "No, I want nothing to do with this," which I understand. Because where I'm at, there are some places that overlap, or there's some things that overlap, particularly like the one percenters kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I get it. I get it. But yeah. Okay. I'm going to look at your comments now. We're done. We did it. Oh, I got to show you my sources. Holy shit. There's a lot. Okay. There is way too much, actually. I'm just going to linger a little bit if anybody wants to like go back and look at them. But yeah, let me look at the comments. Okay, there's okay, here, I'm going to go to the next slide. Oh yeah, Melissa, yeah, there was the 14th is, well, the 14th is a lot of pagan holiday. I have like a whole presentation on that. It's super boring if you ever need to fall asleep. The 14th is very much associated with so I think it's Parentalia that overlaps the ancient Roman holiday. There's also the Juno Februa, Juno the Chaste. and of course Valentine's Day. And Valentine's Day, and I don't know if this was because there was confusion. Um, oh yay! All I says 13 is very significant to the white power weirdos. Yes, I agree. Um, what was it? What was I just talking about? Oh, 14th of February. I gotta finish the thought before I go on to the next one. Okay, so you know how there was the Julian calendar and then there was the Gregorian calendar, and that ended up being off by like 11 to 18 days or something weird like that. Um, that could have affected that February 14th because around middle February, um, at least in ancient Rome and like I guess in like places like Slovenia and stuff, that was like the coming of spring. So I wonder if that was before the Gregorian calendar kicked in, um, those observances. But yeah, anyway, sorry. But yes, 13 is coming up a lot, all eyes. So curious requests. Oh wow. Yeah, Gambies, be careful if you're hiking. Bring like a shotgun. Thank you, Cryptex. Thank you for subscribing. Possibly an Anzus, yes. Yeah, paganism. But okay, so the thing with understanding paganism is that it's gonna be so varied. Like, yeah, you can get like the basic stuff kind of, and like once you get the feel for it, but like people can do whatever they want to do and need to do that resonates with them, which is why I think so many people find it so liberating. But um, and everything wrong. Oh, sorry, need to go to the next thing too. Um, and I was in a rush to do the poetic and prose data, but there's a ton of free stuff online. They went down, I don't know, across the water. Wet signatures are common. Yep. Yeah, very, yeah. Yeah, I would be interested to hear what the witnesses actually say and correct them. Thank you, Royally. Oh, thank you for loving my boring presentations. I don't know how else to be. I guess it's just like my calming, obnoxious voice. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so Valley's Blow is going to be on the third presentation of my most recent series. And that is really interesting because like, here, let me get out of this. Yeah, so if you guys want to go back and like screenshot any of these sources, they are available. This is going to be huge. Ugh, okay. So what were we talking about? Oh, thank you, Hoosier. Hoosier helped. Hoosier like had the good idea about the double trunked tree. Although I'm still looking for more information. So if anybody has more information, please let me know. Or Hoosier, let Hoosier know, and then Hoosier let me know. Um uh yeah. So Valley's Blood. Thank you. Getting old. So Valley's Blood is really interesting because yeah, it's actually kind of like so there are people who practice Asatru who are like, I'm not racist and stuff, and that's fine. You know, there's potential that they're not. Um, there are a lot of people who practice Asatru that are like, I'm pure Norse blood. I'm going to Valhalla. Um, Yeah, it's so not all Asatru like follow. There's a asatru.com thing with the holidays and Bali's Bloat is on there. I think it's my personal opinion that Bali's Bloat became a thing because Valentine's Day, because it takes place on, the 14th. So, Volley, VAL, Valentine, VAL, it's kind of like clever, you know. I'm being a dick, I'm sorry. But Volley is like, it's fascinating because Volley was basically like Odin basically tricked like a lady princess to like, or actually he used coercive magic on her to get with her and have a kid, Volley, who didn't even have a childhood. Like he grew up in one day and he was supposed to go avenge his brother, his half brother that he'd never met, who died, Balder, because Loki like found out the weakness of Balder, gave the blind god, who is Balder's brother, Hother, gave Hother the thing that could wipe out Balder, and Hother, like being directed by Loki, hit the mark, killed Balder, and then for some reason, like Vali gets brought into the world to take out Hother and not Loki. Who Loki was like obviously he was gunning for Balder because Balder's like the young, really, really good looking one, like Zoolander. And everybody was like, they loved him, he's like a really great guy, I guess. I don't know. Um, and like, there's so many times when people like, I hate when scholars get in fights because it's like, well, what do I believe? What is it supposed to be? Yes, meow, exactly. Yep. Heinrich Himmler. Oh my God. Um, yeah. So yeah, we were talking about okay. Yeah. So Balder, like, he's the bright, shiny one. Everybody loves him. Um, and this poor kid Valley, he's brought into the world so that he can avenge a brother he's never met who's dead. By killing another half brother that he'll only ever meet when he kills him, and he has no childhood. On top of that, like Odin impregnates this lady who will never really get to be a mother, and then like her son is like not even, he's just grown up and gone, and Odin's not married to her. It's just like a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I think that's what's so compelling about the Norse gods is that they're very messed up. They're very complicated and messed up, but they're interesting. Uh, you can't say they're not interesting. I mean, some of them they aren't, but so yeah, the Valley's Float thing should be like a festival of like revenge, like messy parts. He does have baby mama drama. Um, so yeah, like to me, that's like, so there's this robotic volley that goes out and just does his dad's bidding because like, and he takes it out on the wrong guy, the blind god, like who had no idea he was killing his own, half brother. And so then another half brother gets created to take him out. It's like, okay, you guys didn't think this through. Um, you got to take it out on Loki, man. Loki's the one that's screwing it up, and he's the instigator. He's the catalyst. He's the change that's gonna like. He does bring Ragnarok. He gets loose, and he causes. I forget. It's a long story, but Loki is the problem. So that's another reason why I can't discount Loki either, because like the EF, Elvis Fields, put twigs in Abby's hair because she was a troublemaker and a quote unquote pain in the ass. So did he consider her to be like Loki? You know, there's there's not, I mean, I lean more towards Odin just because of the way that she's posed. Um, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It only matters what they were thinking, the people doing it. So anyway, guys, um, if anybody has any questions, please let me know. I'll probably stay on here for a couple of minutes more, but like every time I talk for a long time, I lose my voice, so I'm gonna have to like recuperate. I'm not a talker. I try, but yeah, I want to get this out because I think tomorrow there's a pretty good chance that third-party information is not going to be let in anyway. I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see, but I would really, I don't know. I don't have good instincts, so I don't know if that even matters. I have a pretty not great feeling, but meow, I can't go live because I don't know the law. Like I need Bob to go live. Oh, the Sycamore Sonic? I could look into the Sycamore too. I don't know, did they have Sycamores and no. I'd have to look into it. But yeah, I really hope I'm sure Bob will go live. Well, in my opinion. What won't be? Sorry. Yeah, and criminality or criminality because like Travis frequents the criminality too. So I just need a lawyer, guys. I need a lawyer. Okay, so fun fact, my dad is a lawyer. And I try asking him stuff. He's a civil lawyer, but like I try to like bring this stuff up to him all the time, and he's like, "Well, it depends." Um, oh, which reminds me of the scholars who can never agree on anything too. Oh, hi, Rick H. I talked about you in this. You presented awesome information. Down the hell. I like that. Hell is Loki's daughter. That is, see, this guy is fabulous, guys. Because you were also, like, he's brought up so many good points. Anyway, not harm cats. I don't know. What's harm cat? I don't know, guys. I'm not cool. If the F tree is the largest tree, is that significant? That would be significant. We would have to ask Hoosier. But it's also not fair of him either because I don't know if he knows which one it was. It was like kind of across the way from that double trunked tree. But yeah, if it was the largest tree, that would have been really significant. Because like it would be, in my opinion, just from like the stuff that was presented here, to me that would symbolize that it was like the warden tree. It was the lookout. It was like the territorial bulldog. Well, bulldogs aren't, what's a, I don't know. All the dogs are really cute. I don't know which one is like the mean one. It would be the very territorial Tom Hiddleston. Yeah. I know. He's not really Loki, Jen. He's not. He's a normal, nice guy. Loki's crazy. And us, you know, I don't know. I hope people aren't really like I knew people that followed Loki and they were just quirky. They were just like into their own thing. But I think like as soon as Sycamore is in Indiana. Do you know if it's in what do you think of VH post on Facebook? Gross. Very gross, Peggy. I thought it was very scary. Um again, like I don't know the people. Like I don't know the area. I don't know the people involved and stuff. And oh, Parmesan cheese. Okay. Oof. Okay. Um, wait. Sorry guys. What were we talking about? This happens to me all the time. We were talking about Oh, BH on Facebook with the kittens and the bloody hearts and stuff, and how they were like a certain number and stuff. People send me this stuff all the time, and like honestly, he's the only compelling stuff that I've really had a chance to look at because like I don't know the ins and outs of the family. Um, oh no. Oh, I like that. Thank you, Peggy. Yeah, I'll do that. Pull on your inner warrior. Yay. Well, at least you guys have the information now, and more things will come of it because when I put out this information on criminality, like that chat was a genius chat, and they're like, invert it. And I was like, I don't what? What are you talking about? We went to Dune on opening weekend because my hubby's a really big sci-fi guy. And I was like so irritated that I had to go see this because I hated the first one. Just because it was really boring, but I get that they were like trying to set up the whole like, thing, the whole like concept of the movie or like the series because it's going to be a series. Plus we watched it in that like you pay so much freaking money to go get that extra Dolby sound, and like I couldn't hear a goddamn thing that they were saying. Like it was crazy. It was so loud, but I couldn't hear them. Anyway, sitting in the Dune movie and it was really good. It was really good. And there was something in there, and I need to rewatch it so I can see it that was like, oh my gosh, I have to get home and invert that picture like they're saying because they're like, oh, I'll get around to that, that'll be there. I mean, I wrote it down. I'll get to it, you know. But something like smacked me across the face in that movie, and I wish I could remember what it was. And if I watch it again, I might. And that's when it was like, go home, do it the minute you get home. And then I did, and I was freaked out. I was just freaked out. And so I reported it to the FBI because I'm crazy. And then I like tried to get a hold of people that I had been talking to on Reddit. And then I was like, should I post this on my channel? And I could not sleep that whole night. And then I just not posted it. I mean, it's not a very fun or exciting story, but I was just really freaked out, dude. I don't know why. Because, like, that could be a whole bunch of nothing. Like, I look at that and I think, oh, that's super compelling. Like, that obviously means something. Does it? I don't know. Oh, I love Mark Lopez. Yeah, he's a great lawyer. Yeah. He kind of does shorter segments, but I'm gonna wait for Bob and Allie because like, they've been following since well, Bob's been on it since, Frank's came out. No, he's been on it since that June 2023. Hi Caroline, hello. Tell us. Since personal Instagram can help you in personal endeavor. So yeah, Peggy, I thought his Facebook post was like crazy. Yeah. And just like so much taunting, like preemptively having the bad Brad 213 um that workout video where he says like guys and something with tribes. It's on Joe's Crime Nights channel. Um Even if you guys don't like Crime Night, I do recommend you check him out because, I mean, people tell him stuff. He's safely down in Australia. People tell him stuff and he learns shit and he gets some really good scoops. And he's a good person at heart. He's a really good person. Tribe matters. Thank you, not DB. DB's always coming through. You guys are all great. Yeah. I don't know the inside jokes, so, but, Parmesan sometimes can be off-putting, yeah. Um, the audio, Rick, that's the audio of BH saying like, guys, tribe matters. Toughness. Interesting. Yeah, they love their tribes. Oh, that's what. Okay, so there is a belly dance movement called tribalism, and it was meant to be like very eclectic, very Roma, very like the improper word for it is gypsy. Like my dad's side of the family is Roma, so like you know I don't feel offended when people say that, but I apologize for saying that. But tribalism started off kind of as like this eclectic, very witchy kind of aesthetic, and it was also a belly dance thing, but it got reabsorbed into Norse paganism as like kindred, blood ties, blood oaths. Um, Armbands are a big thing too. Um, Anything that was carved in runes would want to be reddened. They call it reddening the runes. So you carve out the runes or you write out the runes and you redden them um, to imbue them with life. So, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Rick. Do you think he meant tribe matters, as in the tribe is valuable, or the subject, or the subject he was a matter of his tribe? I think he meant like shut the fuck up, don't talk. Because there's also, I think he's coercively, like underhandedly sending out signals to, well, okay, so I'm very biased. Anybody should know this right away. I kind of think that I think he's a guy of several guys, but I think he is pretty solidly a guy. And that's not great to say because everybody should be presumed innocent. But I feel like he sends out a lot of these like signals of like, shut the fuck up. There's also another Facebook post where it's like, your real friend, it's like a scene from, I think, Goodfellas. And it's like, your real friends will help you bury a body in the middle of the night or like, something like that. So I think he's always kind of sending out these subtle messages of like, better not be talking because we're a tribe and you're my brother. So like, you better not talk. I don't know. I'm just emasculating him now. It's not kind. Sorry. As in an affair or situation. Oh, a topic. As in a topic matters. Yeah. An ideology, maybe? I could see that. I mean, again, I don't know, because like we should have been interrogating these people. And thank God for the Boucher guy. He was sitting at I know. Okay, so there was a point in Reddit when like I thought he had infiltrated our Reddit subgroup because I'm just an idiot. And like I just started like really pushing buttons and being like, well, if he was there, he was never going to intimidate Click because Click's such a man. Like he would, Click is like the coolest. I just said it way better. It was cool. It was, if that was who I thought it was, I would smoke him out. It's hard to explain. Like, this is an inside thing with the tribe. It's a matter that only pertains to the tribe. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's very possible, DB. Or not DB. Yeah. Do you think Berkana has anything to do? Yeah, I do. Is this related? Yeah. See, again, that's what happens when you have ADD. This whole thing is related to spring. I'm sorry. Disting was, I don't think I put that anywhere in my whole presentation. Okay, so disting is a time to usher in the spring. You're propitiating the female ancestors who would have kind of been the matriarchs, looked after the homestead, the land, got things going. Yeah, disting is the early. It's the early like bringing in of the spring. So the vernal equinox, which is March 20th, 21st, that's going to that is the spring, but it depends on the latitude, the region of the world when you would be getting. You would want to start getting the land cleared in mid-February to start planting. And I think Berkana has a lot to do with that. So like, let me see. Let me try this again. V-rune. That's a great point, Bill. See? I have to write that down. Okay, let me see if I can find the biggest. Damn. Okay, I think this is the only one. Broke records. Wow. Okay. So Peggy, if you look into on the bottom, but the middle bottom slide, do you see how Abby has the Berkana in? Like she's kind of positioned that way. And there's other runes in that too. It's not just Berkana. And Bill, you're dead on about yeah. I don't know why that see again, like you get too stuck into something and you can't see it. You can't see the trees for damn it, I forget. Okay, but yeah, Peggy, do you see that middle slide down on the bottom with the Berkana in it? Oh, yay! Thank you, Sandy. Gary Evans and Rushville is related. Oh. Oh. Oh no. Okay. Okay, Peggy. So if you see that Berkana is like, okay, so it's a birch, right? But it also has to do with birth. And it is like very akin to like the female goddess. So what are the double trunk glitter? Oh. Did he meow? Did he? Oh my god. Okay, Bill has a great thing. Where did you go, Bill? Okay, here, I'm gonna stop. How do I stop that again? Ooh, okay. Wow, okay. Thank you, Meow. Like, okay, so Bill, where are you? If you invert the double tree trunk. Bill, yes! Double tree trunk. Yeah, so yeah, if you flip it on its horizontal axis and you flip it vertically. No. It looks like this already. It looks like a V. Okay, so just the double tree trunk is a V. I'm so grateful for you guys. Like, you have no idea. I love you all so much. I totally forgot to mention that disting was about spring. So yeah. It's not good, guys. It's just not good. Oh, nice. Okay, so what would you call? I got Twitter, but I don't understand it. So I'm not like regularly checking it or anything. You can email me, and then if you want, like, I could give you my maybe if you want it. Otherwise, that might be weird. I don't know. But if you email me, I'm I'm the channel name. I'm Enlight in the Dark with no spaces, all lowercase, at gmail.com. Yeah, and I'll have to remember to check my email because I'm an idiot. DMs on. I'll send you there. Okay. Yeah. Dumb question. Are DMs in Twitter? Because I'm dumb. I don't have the Facebooks. I have Instagram, but like I don't really understand that. So you guys, Bill just made it like the best comment ever. The double tree trunk is a V. It's a V. So thank you, Meow. You're awesome. Yay. So do you guys want to hear my theory? And I just like I want to hear where like it doesn't make sense because I'm sure there's a ton of it, but like I kind of think that oh so Bill, the V shape. V is one of the only well, I guess F can kind of make that sound. It's like one of the missing letters. Cause like pretty much I'm not saying well, I mean I forget a lot of things, so yeah, ADD doesn't help. Oh, okay. So in this, like I've heard people make a better case switched around, but to me, I feel like VH got emasculated by PW because PW is like 6'4" and he probably easily emasculates everyone. Yeah, that's scary. So and it fell into PW's hands to give BH Vinlandership, if that makes sense. Or like I think that's kind of I don't know if that's correct. Meow would know. Meow knows. But I think PW had like the power to accept or deny people into Vinlandership. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. He is a big dude. I know. Him and Jerry Holman, I'm like, oh, I've never thought I needed a firearm before, but I've been considering like a shotgun because like you don't have to be good at aiming a shotgun. But that's besides the point. Brady violation? Oh, oh no. I hope Click stays safe. God. My Twitter, well, I think it's Dark Arts by Adrian, but I can't remember. Or Dark Tea Stiffer. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm like really bad at this. But yeah, okay. So he got rejected. BH got rejected, and possibly some others who are kind of BH's minions, possibly like an EF or a JM. And I'm just doing this because this is all alleged for liability's sake. Get a 410 shoddy. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gambies. Okay, so BH had minions. A snake charmer. Okay. Snake charmer. In a what 40? A 410 or what? A 410 shorty. Snake charmer. Okay. So BH had minions. JM, EF. They kind of. I don't know why JM would be beholden to BH. See, this is why. This is just a theory, and it can be shut down. Because I don't need to be right. I want things to get solved. Oh, there's okay. That's good to know. Okay. So they, for some reason, go along with BH wanting to exact some sort of revenge. Hence why a crime scene would look so Nordic pagan in Delphi, because I think he maybe assumed that it wouldn't. I think BH assumed it wouldn't get back to him. I don't know if PW was involved with it, because I kind of feel like he's the CO. Or CI. CI. What am I talking about? CO. CO is a correctional officer. Yeah. Okay. Because he was already in the Vinlanders when BH and others came to him. So I think he was a plant. And I think that because the FBI went immediately and interviewed him that day, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. And but then why wouldn't he be like, well, because of the FBI? Okay, so if the FBI is not telling you, yeah, yeah, Caroline, I agree. Yeah. So the FBI would not tell Westfall, ooh, I just used his name, allegedly, PW, that like the crime scene resembled Nordic stuff. But there's probably like enough symbolic stuff, like either in, everybody that's a pagan always has like a car decal, bumper sticker. So it's probably not hard to figure out who, who the pagans are. And maybe they didn't even know the symbolism yet. I don't know. It's just a theory. But the level of taunting that BH does is very disconcerting, because it's like, if this is a big if, because I mean, he hasn't been charged or anything. I don't, like, I shouldn't be saying this kind of stuff. But if he was involved, even if, okay, so say he wasn't involved, it's poor taste. Okay, it's just in poor taste. You don't want to, like, especially if your son was the boyfriend, like, you don't want to, like, that's just, I don't, but if he was involved and he's taunting people the way he is with, like, oh, do you think this hat looks like it now? What about this hat? And it's like, why do you feel so safe to do that? Why do you think that's funny? Like, why can you come across as respectable? Like, I don't know. That, to me, that's kind of sadistic. And sadism, of course, is a very prevalent thing that you can find in, I mean, not only narcissists, but like psychopathy, people who don't feel empathy, or they have to like work to like try to figure out how they should react in certain situations. Um, yeah. So, yeah. I agree, Jen. Yeah, it's such I don't get it. I mean, like, you know, I don't, in the same way that I hate how people have treated Richard Allen, I absolutely don't want to become the people that hate Richard Allen, like, become like them and just like so in on it, you know? I have to like catch myself with Koberger, because like touch DNA is pretty good for me, but he hasn't been tried yet. Um, yeah, yeah. And Louise, that's right. And his son, and it was his son's girlfriend, dude. Or even if it wasn't his girlfriend, it was his friend. Like, he knew her, you know? Like, just like, really? That would be really hard to, like, if you were a kid growing up with that kind of, I don't know. I got lucky. I jackpotted it with the parents, you know? I mean, older, but smart, funny. I love my parents. Sorry. Sorry. But yeah, and then there's just too much shady shit going on. Like I don't like having to factor in things that I can't even factor in. I mean, I learn it through you guys because you guys like know the people, you know all the characters and the history and the shadiness and stuff. But it sucks. It just sucks. So, you know, I kind of have hope that it will get investigated, but first, like Lead with Love was saying on a chat recently, I can't remember. I think it was maybe Hoosiers chat, but she was in there and she was saying like, first I gotta check off the list this. I gotta get, I gotta get Richard Allen exonerated. Like I feel the same way. Like I and all of us have to get Allen exonerated, and then we can move on to the next thing. It's just I don't know. I don't know why I think that way. But I think it's a good thing because like it's overwhelming otherwise. So I've been provided with most of them, Peggy, through Reddit. And I have I have a really close source contact that I can like be like, hey, do you have that picture of whatever? So I think I'm pretty good, but I don't know. There's something about like having pictures of his on my own computer that are like, ugh, meh. So yeah, thank you, Bill. And like, why would you do that other than like you don't care about people's feelings? Like, what's another reason you would do that? I think that's right. Digital. Yeah, they did Flora. Yeah. And Meow would know. Because, I mean, she's been on this such a long time, done incredible work. Like, she and the Unraveling, like, they're doing investigative journalism for the investigative journalists in Indiana. Like, Baldwin wasn't wrong when he was like, can you please do your job, please? Except he was like, girl, do your job. Which, that's why I love him. Because he was like, girl, He was Mandy, yeah. Yeah. That would have been so devastating, Mandy. Like, to come out of that meeting and be like, okay, so they have nothing. And they did not look at any of my stuff. And one of the guys that I worked with closely on this is dead. So I don't have much backup because I think Murphy's also still in ISP. Is he in ISP? I think he's FBI, but I think he's also an ISP, maybe? Okay. So, but whatever the case is, I'd be like, shit, I'm by myself. Yeah, that's true, Belle. That's true. Because there's like a Club 22 or, you know, I'm sure you could find online. I'm sure you could go down that rabbit hole, which would just be such a waste of time. But important. But also I did that and I was like, God damn it. It's just on and on and on and on and on. And yes, Meow is a Queen Gambies. Um, yeah. Okay, so Murphy is still ISP. Yeah. So like I would be devastated, dude, if I was Click coming out of that room. I would just be like, oh fuck. I'm fucked. Like I have no one. I'm by myself. So I can see why he kind of reached out to the defense. They did. Hi, Jay. Hi. But they did. Yeah. Oh. Okay. I don't know who they rebranded as though, guys. The fact that he knows they won't charge him. Yeah. Why? Why does he act that way, Jay? Why does he think he won't get or charged? And like Bill was saying, what was Bill saying? Yeah, he's like acting like it flagrantly. He's just like, I, why? What is the psychology? Does anybody know psychology? What is the psychology behind that? I mean, I get sadism. I mean, I'll have to think about it. But listen, guys, there's probably like a ton of really awesome stuff streaming right now. I wonder if, let me see. Oh, my phone is being stupid. There was a solar flare that finally made its way here. And it's been just my opinion that it's been messing up. Okay. Huh. Oh my gosh. Ew, that was me. I'm on the other. Okay. That was weird. Oh, I hit the live thing and it was creepy. Didn't like that. After your friend and coworker was murdered. Yeah. And you quit Delphi because of it. I wonder if you felt pressure to quit after that. Awesome, Jay. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been gardening. I've been getting really gross. Yeah. But how did you get invited? Oh, invited. How did you get invited? Oh, okay. I'm like, who's Ed? Sorry. Oh, guys. Yeah, the struggle is real. So I should probably let you guys go. I think probably somebody will be live, but I hope that helps. I hope it like at least does something that can like, I don't know, like spawn new ideas or like look in different places kind of thing, you know? Um, and honestly, like it wouldn't hurt my feelings if you guys are like, yeah, I think that's extrapolation. Um, because that's fine. And then if it is extrapolation, I would like to know where. Um, just because I want to try to be able to poke holes in things too. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you. Thanks to all of you guys for showing up. Like I was like, I'm probably just gonna be talking to myself the whole time, but I've already done that with my presentations, which are super boring. Um, so if you guys ever need to fall asleep to something, um, but yeah, I'm just saying like I'm really glad that you guys showed up. I'm glad I wasn't just talking to myself because I don't like the sound of my own voice. Oh yeah. Oh, and if anybody wants to tell me, like seriously, I won't be offended. Yeah. I won't be offended if you're like, yeah, I think that's an extrapolation. Um, because yeah, Kaiser, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Jen. But yeah, I honestly am happy with hearing holes getting poked into theories because I just want to see. I just want to know I'm not crazy or that I'm crazy because then I can do something about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to know. Oh, thank you, Sandy. Thank you, guys. um, I don't want to be crazy. That's kind of a thing. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. But honestly, if you guys like find anything. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Peggy. So I get frustrated too. I don't want anybody witch hunting anyone. Because we don't know. We shouldn't be doing what other people are doing to Richard Allen and his family, to people who haven't even been charged. I just bring it up as a hypothetical just because of weird behavior, you know? So, thank you guys. Thank you, Charles. Thank you. But I do want to hear if you have any theories, any things that I can like further work on. I mean, apart from like presenting information well. um, okay. Thank you, Digital. I won't be offended. Like, honestly, I need to know. I just want to see some stuff. I need holes poked into things, you know? It can't be well, it's not easy. It's not easy, but it can't be like, I don't know. 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 Yeah, Bill. So true. So true. Yeah, hate ends up just wrecking you from the inside out. So, yeah, we got to be kind. I am afraid a little bit of people harassing other people, though. I don't want people to get hurt or swatted. You know, because I mean, there have been cases of people getting swatted and like getting shot, you know? Um, so when people do that to other people, I really would like those people, I would like the people that are harassing them and calling SWAT teams on them. I would like them to be arrested, you know, so that they learn their lesson, they don't do it again, kind of thing. But, you know, people are just bizarre. They're just bizarre. It's bizarre behavior. Will it get better after the trial? I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But my stomach is making horrible noises and it's getting kind of embarrassing. So I think I'm going to go, guys. But I love you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you for coming and listening. And please, I like all theories. I like all of them. I still can't figure out like the time connection for Potawatomi. I can't figure out that time connection with the Idaho case, but I don't really look at the Idaho case, so I am sorry about that. Um, but yeah, otherwise, like, please, guys, Gull is not going to let everything. I know. That's why I wanted to do this presentation because it's like, don't forget that this stuff might matter. Don't forget that it might matter and that it's out there, you know? Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, guys. So, okay. Thank you so much. You guys all have a great evening. And take care of yourselves. Like, I don't know. Like if I do come on live, I don't think I'm going to be like doing another presentation just because like I don't know why, but that kind of talking just like I can't do it. So, but I will be happy to like hear anything. I like hearing it all. So, okay. You guys have a really good night. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you soon. And hopefully tomorrow goes better than I'm imagining it. So, um, is broad. All opinions matter. That's true. That's very true, Charles. That's very true. So, here's to tomorrow, guys. So, I'll talk to you soonish. So, have a good night. Thank you. Did I do